Welcome to UCF Knightline, your source for UCF sports and former player information.
Hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley coming to you from the 1148 studios, and we're back. Trylko.
Hello, everyone.
We are back.
I feel like I need a name tag. You need a name tag. We need to reintroduce ourselves.
I know. Man, it's been a long time, it seems
Couple of
like.
weeks.
It seems just we've done all those replays and not done these things live recently, and I apologize. But,
It's summer.
Everybody,
It's summer.
Yeah, everybody needs a break. We're going on vacations. We're doing all kinds of stuff. So here we are. We're back with episode number 42. There's some stuff going on, though.
Something's in the news?
There's
What's
a
going
couple
on?
things.
Oh, that's right. Todd Stansbury has left the building.
Yeah.
Well, not quite yet.
Yeah, he's leaving. I don't know do you know the actual date of that?
Did they say July or something like that?
I thought it was August something but
like
anyway, it doesn't really matter. But
You're not going to be invited to the going away party.
Probably
not. So
no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
So I could care less.
Have you ever been to Oregon?
I have, yes.
Have you been
Yeah.
to Corvallis?
No.
To Oregon State?
I've been to Portland, Oregon.
Because you'd like to think that out of all of this, that maybe we get a home and home with
Yeah,
Oregon State.
Maybe. Hopefully.
So that I can keep my streak alive, which is, by the way, did you know that? We were talking on the last podcast that I was only a couple of stadiums away from hitting all the Major League Baseball ones. I think it's 18 years straight I've been on a UCF road trip to a different stadium.
Wow. That's awesome.
So I would like to pick up Oregon State. So ink that deal.
And you did some major league since we last talked. You did some major league stadiums, and you did some MLS stadiums.
I picked up Yankee Stadium. That was the new one. And some games at Fenway, and picked up some soccer games, MLS games, Montreal and Philadelphia.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You sent me pictures, and I had to kind of guess where you were every time. It was kind of like, where is Waldo?
Where in the world is Trey? But I would like to go to Oregon State. So let's ink that deal and get one of those Pac-12 teams on the schedule.
Well, yeah, I would think another Pac-12 team on the schedule, because we will be playing Stanford this year, yes, and that is a Pac-12 team. It'll be our first trip to California, I believe.
So, yes, Todd Stansbury, the big news of the week is that he is leaving UCF after a little more than 3.5 years or thereabouts. What was your reaction when the news broke?
I wasn't shocked, because I knew that that job was available, and that he was probably the leading candidate to do that. That's where he came from before UCF and all that. So I wasn't shocked.
It made sense for him, and he had a successful stint with UCF. Doesn't seem like he's been here very long, couple of years.
Yeah, and a lot of people say that UCF, the jobs at UCF, whether it be coaching or in the front offices, are stepping stone jobs. They take the jobs here to get somewhere else.
Well, in a lot of cases, that's true.
Right.
So, I mean, the money is bigger in those Power 5 conferences, and it's not to say that you can't have success at UCF. A number of programs have had success, and coaches have remained with those programs. But coaches that excel get plucked by other conferences and other programs.
Does that help our chances of maybe being in the Pac-12?
It seems as likely that we're getting in there as any other conference at the moment.
Yeah, there's talk again of the Big 12, because the AD at West Virginia happened to say something that people thought was cryptic code.
Which
and
is
then Todd Stansbury says something cryptic at the hometown huddle, and then George O'Leary says some cryptic thing, and then all of a sudden we're going to be in the Big 12 next week.
Which, little tease here, coming up in a matter of moments, we have Jeff Sharon, who has joined us before, who I think is our most controversial guest, because he seems to fire up our fan base.
He does, yeah.
By offering opinions based upon some reporting and some information.
People
so it's not he's just pulling this stuff out.
Yeah, people do not like to hear the truth sometimes, and when you tell the truth and you don't sugarcoat it. I try to do that. I try to not sugarcoat things, but Jeff Sharon is an absolute master at not sugarcoating things and telling the truth and reporting the actual way things are.
Well, and what has he said? The conferences know about UCF. They've heard of us.
Right.
Okay? They don't need another press packet. When they are ready to expand or realign, UCF is on the list. And then they're going to make a decision, whether it's the BYU or Memphis or Cincinnati or UConn or whoever's out there. They're going to look at everything. And one of those everythings continues to be boosters and dollars. And UCF is still not comparable to those programs.
Yeah. You said it earlier, when they want to expand, they know where we are. All they have to do is come knocking.
Keep winning in football. Keep winning in the other sports. Sell tickets, generate revenue, add boosters, and it will all fall into place.
I have a question, though. Does this do anything to the ESC?
No.
Does Todd Stansbury's little special ESC thing go away, or does it hurt it in any way? Is that the mark that Todd Stansbury left on UCF?
No, you know what? I think he brought credibility to UCF with the departure of Keith Tribble, with the sanctions and the mess that failed athletic director brought shame upon the UCF brand. So I think he cleaned things up. Compliance office, emphasis on academics, leadership center, Knights Without Borders. I think he has a lot of positive things he has started. We have discussed here the impact of the East Side Club, the Tiki Bar. I do find it interesting in the conversations I've had with UCF athletics folks that one of the things I said was that that's the sort of project that will be started by somebody who will leave and not be here to see it. No, nobody's going anywhere. Yeah, he's not building one in Oregon.
Yeah, that was your prophecy.
Yeah, I don't know if I've been called that. But
hopefully the new guy will come in and maybe look at that thing and be like, you know what, guys, instead of making this thing a beach theme, maybe it should have something to do with the school.
Now, we're in summer right now. It's a couple of months from opening. The next athletic director is not making any changes in the short term.
I know. It's wishful thinking. You would think that someone would have had the vision to make that thing something more than the beach, or quite a ways away from the beach. We're inland.
And 3 of the 6 home games are at night. And I don't know who that we're having these cutaway shots of. It's going to be a bunch of middle-aged people sipping on drinks.
It's going to be a fat guy without a shirt sipping on some drink with a freaking umbrella in it.
It's there. It's generated headlines. You start to we talk about Jeff Sharon generating negative opinions. Boy, you start to say something negative about the Tiki Bar. And boy, you get a rash of people that are, you're just down on UCF. I'm allowed to have an opinion.
Absolutely.
Alum. Yeah, I'm allowed to have an opinion that I support doing things to generate additional revenue. I just don't think it makes a lot of sense to carve out your 50-yard line seats. I'm allowed to have that opinion. I could be wrong. Hasn't sold out yet. It will. We'll see what it does in 3, 4, 5 years.
They've got some seats in there. There's a lot of seats, quite a few seats, more than I thought were going to be in there. There's no palm trees or anything yet, though.
And when
it still looks like a big hole from the outside, a hole in a crane.
And when it's 90 degrees and people duck in to get their drinks, then those gold seats will be the empty seats that are shown on TV instead of the silver ones.
That's true. Or those people will be like suntan lotion or like sunscreen going to be coming with those seats?
Well, what came out in Orlando Business Journal, some other sources, was that they're looking for a title sponsor, and boy, you'd think a Ron John or something like that would be who you would naturally want to see there, but we'll see.
Has there been anybody that you know of? Anybody said anything or any hints or?
They're working hard on that. They want that sponsorship. They want to title it with somebody's name on it. So
I think at one point we talked a little bit about Bright House Networks, and they were doing something with who was it, Comcast or one of the
that deal fell through.
Did it fall through?
Yeah, that deal fell through.
So our stadium will not be renamed to Costco or whatever.
Did you see in the time,
Comcast.
again, some of these things when we're off for a couple of weeks, that they are talking about some stadium upgrades, including TVs out in the concession stands.
Right.
Was one of the things that are
supposedly there's going to be TVs, there's going to be Wi-Fi better. What was the other thing? There was something else.
Better food at the concession stands. No, I don't think that was one of the ones.
Some of the food's not bad.
But
the
TVs.
Have to be TVs would be great, though, when you run down there and
I know that's not a cheap thing to do all the wiring and all of the upgrades.
It was
and all
pre-wired.
Of that.
I heard that it's already pre-wired. It was pre-wired from the beginning, that the sets were what was expensive, and they needed to get those. So
it's a positive upgrade if that's...
I think fans have been asking for that for a while, and now they need to do something about beer sales.
That was another thing that generated headlines.
Yeah. George O'Leary supposedly, I guess, said that he's all for beer sales. Supposedly.
It generates revenue for the nearly 24 schools across the country that sell beer.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny, right? One of the perks of these clubs, the East Side Club and these other things, is your ability to buy alcohol. So Dr. Hitt is well known and on the record of not liking the widespread alcohol sales throughout the stadium. Unless you pony up $900 to be in the East Side Club, and then you can buy beer.
Well, I'll tell you that, there's a lot of ways to get alcohol into that stadium, by the way.
Oh, it's readily apparent when you go to the restrooms. That's where I learned about these things that people put on these little plastic things.
Hey, don't tell them that.
Sorry.
Don't tell them that. I mean, don't be like, don't give that away.
Okay.
But just say there is ways.
There are numerous ways people are bringing alcohol.
I'm just joking. I'm sure that they know of every way. But
I like the one that looks like an iPhone, but it's a flask. Have you heard about that one?
No.
It looks like an iPhone, but it's a flask.
Oh, awesome.
How much can you put in there, though?
Yeah, but enough.
To keep the buzz going from the tailgating.
So that's what you have to do. You have to anyway. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
So back to Todd Stansbury.
Not that we would ever do that.
What do you think his legacy is? 3.5 years.
I think that his legacy would be that the academic record of the student athletes. I think that would be his legacy, and maybe, being the champion of that
academic progress.
Yeah.
Volunteerism of the student athletes. To me, his legacy is that he was the anti-Tribble. Tribble left a mess and an embarrassment.
He cleaned it up.
And he cleaned it up, ran a competent administration, and rode a wave that I would argue now, because this kind of segues into who might replace him, right? And what's the big name? The message board chatter. George O'Leary.
And I think that's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. I would argue that with the success that George O'Leary has had on nearly a dozen years, that the football program has had, that has put UCF on the map, that George O'Leary is the most important person, not the athletic director. Look at the salaries. Look at what the football coach takes in, and look at what Stansbury took in.
And I will argue with that, though. There are some programs that have been very successful under Mr. Stansbury, but there have also been some programs that should be very successful that are not under his watch.
He made some successful coaching hires.
But did he ever make any important fires? And that's what probably has needed to be done for, we've talked about this before. There's a basketball coach that probably needs to go elsewhere, and there may be
a big year for that basketball coach with the AAC basketball tournament here in Orlando at the Amway.
If he messes this up, that he's got to be gone after this year if he messes this up.
But, a new athletic director came in, did make a change on Donnie.
A new athletic director could come in and clean house as well and get some stuff going. So the only thing that I really besides when we talked to Jeff Sharon about this, that I want to say is that it better be somebody that has ties to a Power 5 conference, has ties has been an associate athletic director at one of those places, or has something that can help us get there. That's what they need on their resume as far as I'm concerned. UCF has hired some firm to help them find somebody. I don't know if it's that hard to find somebody.
If they find that person, then maybe the UCF job isn't the stepping stone job anymore. Maybe that person then sees that this is the long haul for them.
They need to create their opportunity and make it the opportunity of a lifetime, and then they're set.
Well, you mentioned they're hiring a firm. There's not going to be any shortage of people that are interested in the position.
Yeah,
and now UCF hopes to find the right person, but that person has a heck of a lot more tools
going
for them than previous eras in UCF those athletic directors had. With the facility upgrades that occurred and the success of the programs, that person is well positioned. Back to what we said, though, a Big 12 or whomever, they know about UCF.
Yeah, and the people also that are in that are even capable of getting the job of athletic director at any school know that this job is available. They know that UCF is in need of an athletic director. They know what UCF has to offer. They know. They know.
They
don't need a firm to do that. You're going to get all kinds of letters. Just say, "Hey, hello, we're looking for an athletic director," and you'll fill your mailbox. Trust me. All right, I think that now would be a good time to talk to Jeff Sharon and see what he has to say on the subject. Please welcome Jeff Sharon back to the show, and he's from SportsTalkFlorida.com. Jeff, how you doing?
It's great to be here with you guys, Andrew and Trace. Thank you once again for having me back. I figure I did not stink the first time enough, so you guys must have So I'm happy you guys invited me back. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a little while. I think the last time that we talked was like February or something, and a lot of things have happened since then. So
Yeah, you definitely did not stink. You're the most controversial guest we've ever had.
All from one TV article. I can't believe it, how I'm now viewed as controversial.
People love to hate your opinions.
Yeah, well, it is an opinion. But no, it's not, I mean, okay, so the Big 12 stuff cropped up again, right?
absolutely, and that is exactly why we thought Jeff Sharon. Who would we talk to about the Big 12?
Are we in the Big 12 yet? Do you got any insider information on that?
No, we're not in the Big 12. And in fact, I just caught word that there's now a Twitter account called with the handle "Is UCF in the Big 12?" And I just checked it, and we are still not in the Big 12.
I'm following that Twitter account as well, just so you know.
Is there any sort of clock running on that it's minutes and hours and days since it debuted and we're still not in?
No, there's no clock. The only thing we have close to that is something that I came up with for a couple of tweets I sent out before called the UCF Big 12 Doomsday Clock. So are you guys familiar with the Doomsday Clock?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, so it's just for any listeners who aren't familiar, the Federation of Atomic Scientists have this thing that the clock, and however close it is to midnight, that's how close we are to nuclear Armageddon. Well, the way I see it is this is exactly what we need for the UCF. So I came up with the UCF Big 12 Doomsday Clock, and right now I think we're at about 6 minutes to midnight.
Well, 6 minutes is not bad. What is the Doomsday of UCF? What is that?
Well, if we hit midnight, that means we're in the Big 12. But the thing is, that the story that came out, I think that everyone was kind of talking about, was that the West Virginia athletic director, heading into the Big 12 meetings, kind of let slip that the Big 12 was thinking about inviting 2 candidates. And everyone in UCF land kind of jumps on it and says, oh, my God, this is it. This is our chance. We're going to get in there with one other team. And who cares who that other team is? We're going to get in. And it's going to happen sooner rather than later. But what everyone fails to realize, and it goes back to some reporting that Jim Williams at Sports Talk Florida, who's actually my boss over there, and I did on this whole situation. The Big 12 is always sending out things, checking on people, right? It's kind of like, they'll send something out to school X or school Y saying, hey, how are you guys doing? Oh, we're doing fine. How's revenue looking this year? Great. How are ticket sales? Good. How are the Olympic sports doing? We're doing all right. And they always do that. So it's not like these schools don't talk to each other through back channels. Of course they do. And it has nothing to do with the athletic staff at all. It's the presidents who actually make these contacts. So, of course, UCF is on the Big 12's radar. They've always been on the Big 12's radar. No one's saying they're not. I'm not saying they're not. But the fact is, there's a difference between being on the radar just in case we decide to expand and actually being invited to expand, or everyone likes to talk about the, quote, short list, end quote, of candidates. Well, none of that really matters. Until presidents start actually engaging in negotiations, everything is speculation at this point.
Does it help us or hurt us now that Todd Stansbury has announced that he's going to Oregon State?
It's hard to say at this point. So Todd left, and he's going to be heading back to Corvallis. I think the 1st of July is when he's going to return. And remember, he was there for 9 years before coming to UCF as an associate athletic director. I don't think that Stansbury leaving bears so much on UCF making a play for the Power 5 conferences as much as whoever the next guy is that they hire. You'll remember, for example, went way back in the Stone Ages when UCF hired Keith Tribble. Tribble was the commissioner. I think he was on the Orange Bowl commission at the time. He was connected with Big East schools and other power conferences. Then he goes away. Todd Stansbury obviously comes over from Oregon State, which is another Power 5 in another Power 5 league in the Pac-12. So now UCF has a decision to make. Do they go for, say, a number 2 guy at a major Power 5 institution in the Big 12? Do they go for a number 2 guy from a school outside the Big 12? Do they go for someone completely different? The only real name I've actually really heard kind of bandied about was Tim Leonard, who used to work at UCF as an associate AD under Steve Orsini back in the day, followed Orsini to SMU, and is currently the athletic director at Towson University in Maryland. But that's if UCF decides, you know what, we're going to put this Big 12 talk on the back burner. I don't know. This next month or two, when the search commences and finally comes to an end, going to be real interesting because everyone in UCF land is going to be carefully analyzing the resume of whoever gets selected to lead the athletic department to see, okay, what sort of connections does this guy have to Power 5 leagues, if he has any. He or she, I should say.
Well, it seems to me you've left out a pretty big name from that list, George O'Leary.
Well, I heard George's name kind of, thrown into the stew to see what happens. I don't know about you guys, but
I think that would be a ticking time bomb, to be honest with you. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know George personally as much as some other people I know George. I will tell you this, though. I'm going to have a hard time believing that George O'Leary is going to have much patience because the women's golf team's uniforms have not arrived yet, and he needs to make some phone calls and bash some heads. I don't think George is going to have too much patience for that. Now, it was speculating that, he's sort of in the same position in his career that Tom Osborne was in Nebraska and Barry Alvarez was. In fact, Barry has come down from the ivory tower, I think, twice since he left as Wisconsin's head coach and moved up to just being the AD. He's come down from the ivory tower twice to coach Wisconsin in bowl games, and I think they were both Rose Bowls. But I don't see George doing that at all. He's going to be a football coach through and through until he's not the football coach anymore. He's not going to be the AD.
I don't think that you mentioned Tom Osborne and George O'Leary in the same sentence either, to be honest with you. I'm from Kansas, and Nebraska's really close there, and Tom Osborne, I mean, not that George O'Leary is not an icon of college football, but maybe not for the same reasons that Tom Osborne was. You know what I'm saying? So they're two different guys, like totally. So
two different guys, totally different era too. Tom was a U.S. representative too, if I'm not mistaken, for a time.
Yeah, and basically in the town of Lincoln, Nebraska, and the whole state of Nebraska, he's basically a god. So
right, and the other thing is too. At the time that Osborne did that, you could do that. And Nebraska's athletic department is very traditionally set up in such a way where he could do such a thing. Alvarez, too, to an extent, because, Wisconsin's athletic department has really grown under Barry from when he was a football coach. In today's day and age, and especially UCF working with the near fraction of a budget that those two guys were working with in their day, I don't see, George didn't come to UCF to be the athletic director. He came here to be a football coach.
Wasn't it about a year or so ago when there were all those rumors that he'd be retiring right after that Penn State game in Ireland, and now his name's being mentioned for the athletic director's position? Maybe it's just a little bit of the summer slowdown. People looking for something to talk about?
Yeah, I think it just goes to show you how little we all really know. George is very protective of his property. He has, to his immense credit, he has solidified his legacy at UCF almost completely. Brent Key is now the offensive coordinator, associate head coach, moved up from the O-line coach position. It hasn't obviously been officially announced, but, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that barring any sort of strange thing happening, Brent Key's going to be the next head coach of UCF. And he played under George, and he's going to continue George's legacy. You got to give the guy credit. He's taken the UCF from 0-11 in his first year in the MAC to 2 consecutive conference championships, 1 Fiesta Bowl win, and I think UCF is still in pretty good position to challenge for a conference again in 2015. That's a credit to George's coaching ability. His administrative ability. He doesn't care. He doesn't care a lick about the golf teams or the basketball teams or any of that. He would never get. He would rarely come out to sporting events of other sports, and other coaches have told me, he doesn't. There's always a little bit of camaraderie amongst, schools. The coaches at several schools, they all see each other in meetings and everything. George, for example, when I worked in Georgia, Mark Ricks would show up at a women's gymnastics event just to be there, right? And to prove that, and to show everybody that, hey, I don't just support my program, I support the University of Georgia in all that it does athletically. I think I've seen George at maybe 3 basketball games. I've seen him at 2 baseball games. That's been it. He cares about his own ivory tower, and everything else is ancillary. If it doesn't matter to him, it doesn't matter. He's not in the mood for. He has no time for public relations.
Speaking of public relations, I could only imagine what the negotiations for anything would be like with George O'Leary as well. You know, I mean, is this the guy you want to negotiate for you when it comes to high, dollar, home and aways and stuff like that? Is he really the guy that, I mean, how long would it be, a phone call or a meeting or whatever before he drops an F-bomb and just says, forget you, I'm out of here, I don't know if he would be the guy as an executive that you would want to do that.
Well, he's more of a CEO than anything because he hires people around him who have specific instructions on how to do things. He tells them to go do them, and they do them. It's highly efficient, and it's been highly effective. But, you have to be a politician when you're an athletic director. You have to, shake hands and kiss babies. And George is not into that. And there's a part of me that looks at it and says, I don't blame him. I don't blame him one bit. He's 67. 67, 68 years old. He's pushing 70. He's coming close to retirement. He doesn't want to deal with all that stuff. What would be the advantage to becoming the AD for him? An extra tag on his resume? He's not going anywhere else. Does he? Yeah, does he really? That invested in the UCF? He's invested in the football program.
Yeah, I think he wants to coach a couple more years and retire and go on about his business.
And it's certainly.
I think he wants to wait to one of two things: either UCF gets into a power conference, or UCF wins another major bowl game following a conference championship. And then I wouldn't be surprised to see him hang it up.
I think this discussion has shown us that his value for UCF right now is more on that football field than it would be in an administrative position. I think the other thing that's interesting about this discussion this week has been that I think UCF wants to find a way to keep George a part of the athletics program, even if he is not the head coach. And then you wonder what would that role be that he can remain a force for UCF in the years ahead.
Well, I think he takes on some kind of an administrative position. It's kind of like a board position or something else to kind of keep him, on the payroll, observing, keeping him in charge of things. I mean, don't forget. I mean, we talked about how he's not going to be the athletic director, but don't let's fool ourselves. He's going to have a very significant hand in whoever the next athletic director is going to be. He had a hand in the hiring of Todd Stansbury, who was at Georgia Tech when he was there. So it's not like he's going to say, I don't care who the athletic director is. I'm just worried about football. No, he's going to have a hand in that because that's the guy who's going to sign the check and the budget for whatever George wants to do. Now, once that person is in position, then they, I don't want to quite say they take their orders from O'Leary, but they kind of do. I think that as long as his trains are running on time, he's perfectly fine with whoever it is, and it's going to be somebody who is going to have his blessing who takes this job.
So you're on the record, absolutely 0% chance George O'Leary is the next athletics director for UCF.
I'm not the kind of guy who says there's a 0% chance of anything happening.
Donald Trump's running for president, so you know.
I will say a 0.01% chance that it happens.
All right, he's on the record, 0.01.
That's good, though.
Which for you non-math majors out there, 1% means 1 in 100. So 0.01, carry the 1. That's about a 1 in 10,000 chance.
Okay, so is that percentage higher than the percentage that the next time you join us on the Knightline podcast, we will be discussing UCF being brought into the Big 12? Is that a 0?
Wait.
Is that 0?
Wait a second. That means you guys are going to wait to call me until it happens.
No. We'll talk to you before that. Hopefully next time it won't be on like Father's Day or something like that, though, because I know you're busy and you got stuff going on there.
I'll say this. I think UCF has a better chance of getting into the Big 12 tomorrow than George O'Leary has a chance of ever being the UCF athletic director.
That sounds like a promo. Sounds like we're going to run that one.
Well, we will all be watching that Twitter account. I guarantee that's going to be one of the most popular Twitter accounts ever for UCF people. Are we in the Big 12 yet? I
don't know who set up that Twitter account, but it's really brilliant. I got to give him credit.
I have a couple ideas, but
maybe it was the person that had FireO'Leary.com that bought that domain name back when.
Did they close that down yet?
I don't know if it's still there or not. But yeah, so, there's all kinds of UCF news going on. I mean, there's not only this, there's, the football season's coming up. Just a real quick thing. What do you think it's going to be like this year? What do you think we should watch for?
Well, last year I said that it would be the defense that carries the water for the team, and lo and behold, they did. One of the best, maybe the best defense in UCF history that we saw last year. This year, you lose all those guys on defense, so I think that it's going to be incumbent upon the offense to score some more points. Justin Holman with another year under his belt, looked inconsistent at times in the spring game, although O'Leary said that he had improved the most of any other player on the roster during the spring practice session. The real question is who he's going to throw to. I really like what I saw from Jordan Akins. I think he's going to be a star. The other guys who are going to fill out that wide receiving core, a few of them aren't at school yet. They're going to start in the fall. We'll stand back if he can stay healthy. Should see a lot of work on the offensive side of the ball. And then on defense, I think you're going to see a step down from what we saw last year. I still think they'll be pretty good. They'll be near the top of the conference. But, you lose Summers. You get Chuck Bresnahan as the defensive coordinator who comes over from USF. Bresnahan's team, if he sounds familiar, he was a longtime defensive coordinator in the NFL. I was the Raiders defensive coordinator, actually, when they went to the Super Bowl and they lost to John Gruden and the Buccaneers. But Bresnahan's defenses are not known for putting up amazing yardage numbers. What they are known for is causing a lot of turnovers. And so I look forward to Bresnahan's defense causing a lot of havoc and giving Holman a short field quite often. Hopefully he can take advantage of it. And the most important thing also on offense is the offensive line. How will they develop after the really just bad performance overall last year? One more year under their belt, what's it going to look like? I don't know. So a lot of question marks. The conference around UCF, I think, is kind of staying pat too. It'll be really intriguing. I'll tell you, it really will be. I think it'll come down to quarterback play and what Justin Holman can do.
I'm going to have you back after some fall practices get going and stuff like that, and we have a little bit more of a look at what's going to be happening and all that stuff. But I thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us. We love to have you on here. Even though there's some people out there that are haters, we love to have you on here. You're a wealth of information. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Fellas, thank you so much for having me once again. I always appreciate it when you guys ask me to come on. I'd love to come on again anytime you want. Have a wonderful, wonderful Father's Day. And if I don't talk to you before the 2015 season, have a great summer.
All right, it was nice talking to Jeff Sharon, of course. And, hey, this week I added some stuff to the UCF Knightline podcast website.
That photo of us?
That's been there for a little while. But if you look over where the little ad type things are, you'll see my card for my photography business. And then right below that, you'll see Blake Bortles autographed merchandise.
Yeah, I'm looking at that now. There's some cool photos here.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff in there, but you have to click on that link to get it. And then also there's another one below that says the largest collection of UCF merchandise. There is tons and tons of stuff. Anything that you need for tailgating, anything that you need for home decor, anything that you need for,
a lot of times UCF fans struggle with finding merchandise in stores, and there's more stuff here as I'm clicking through. There's some shorts that I think I'm going to add to the card here.
Yeah, there's tons of stuff on there. So please go to our website, www.ucfknightlinepodcast.com.
They've got board shorts on there.
They've got tons of stuff. Anything that you want, I'm telling you.
The board shorts are cool. I like
it is
those.
Absolutely the largest collection of UCF merchandise anywhere.
Anywhere. Now, when I was on this sports trip recently, a friend of mine, Paul, who is a Gator fan, Gator alum, said this to me on the car trip. UCF, in his opinion...
You let a Gator fan in your car?
Yeah, we've been friends for a while. He said that UCF, in his opinion...
You traveled with a Gator fan.
Yes, I have.
Did he wear Gator stuff?
Yeah, he does. He does.
In your car?
Yeah, he does tend to wear.
Did you rent a car or did you...
Rented a car.
Okay, so it wasn't actually your car
Not
with all
my car.
the UCF stuff
He's
on it.
probably had Gator stuff on in my car.
Okay.
He said that he feels UCF has failed to capitalize fully on the Fiesta Bowl win, which I thought was, in the context of what we were talking about, that was just an interesting statement that I thought was worth.
I believe that is absolutely not true.
Defend.
I believe that the reason why that is not true is because the recruiting class that we have coming in this year were the ones that were recruited by that Fiesta Bowl win.
Are we relevant on the national scene?
I don't know about... I do worry that we're not relevant.
All right, so are we BYU? Are we Boise State? Have we moved to that
we're
category?
In that, I would say the Boise State category. I wouldn't say the BYU category. That's a different thing altogether because they are an independent. that's another thing that we could do. We could go independent. We don't talk about that very often.
We did that one time. That wasn't.
But that was a long time ago as well, and we haven't done things like win the Fiesta Bowl. We've won the Fiesta Bowl since then, and it's a completely different ball game after doing something like that. Yes, it is. It is completely that. Not that UCF was not on the map, but they're definitely on the map now.
So you think he's wrong with his statement, but maybe that's a statement shared by a lot of people across America.
It probably is. I was talking to a guy today that is a big Auburn fan. And I was like, yeah, why does Auburn never come? It would be great if Auburn would come down and play UCF.
No.
Well, but why? Why wouldn't they? They'd be guaranteed to have a ton of people there.
We played them there a couple times. I saw them there.
Right, but why don't these teams want to come down here and play? I still think that's one of the questions. It's crazy that these, especially teams from Alabama, Georgia, Florida, don't want to come and play. And I still say that it's because they're scared. They don't want to look bad by getting beat.
I think that's part of it. But I think that when you look at University of Florida home schedule that features 7 games in 90,000 plus, they're not trading that 90,000 seat home game for a road game.
Do you have to trade? They do a number of road games.
No, not against non-SEC teams. They don't leave the state of Florida.
Well,
they've got this one coming up at Jerry's World in Dallas.
That's pretty bunk that teams don't do that.
Outside bowls, they haven't left Florida for a non-conference game since 91,
really?
92, when they played at Syracuse.
Really?
Yeah. Check that out.
That's interesting.
Gators don't travel.
That's an interesting way to...
SEC games, they get the 4 road games in the SEC, but non-con, nope.
That's an interesting way to have your home field advantage for your non-conference schedule.
Well, look who they have coming to Gainesville this year. I think Florida Atlantic, East Carolina, New Mexico State, I think is one of them as well.
It's ridiculous.
They're not going to any of those places.
It's ridiculous. Anyway, I do think that, no, we haven't fully capitalized on the thing, but I believe that this year will be, the first year that we're actually reaping the benefits of that. Besides being nationally known a little bit better. A little bit better. I still have people call it UFC. All the time, which I get a little offended. It's not. It's UCF. All kinds of stuff.
See, that's one of the Stansbury legacy items, is that the better positioning of the UCF in ESPN and nationally.
Well, they still say, Central Florida and all that stuff. So, anyway.
Strides have been made.
Strides have definitely been made, and I think that this is the year with the recruiting that you're going to see it, like I've said probably 2
But isn't it funny how it goes back to the success of the football team? We of course spend time talking about softball and baseball during their seasons, but when we talk about the national landscape, it still goes back to football, doesn't it? And that the football team needs to be contending for the AAC title again and positioning itself for a postseason bowl appearance.
All I will say is and I told my friend this earlier, the gap between the Power 5 and the rest is huge. You either are or you're not, and that sucks. And that's what
look at the report this week about the TV revenue per school in, they call it the Big Ten. There's 14 teams in there, but they're getting $40 million. Indiana is getting $40 million off that Big Ten network.
And there's a couple of teams that really, kind of suck in there, in that 14. There's teams that definitely, don't put a quality...
Indiana.
That are getting quality, product on the field.
Getting almost $40 million, somewhere $40 million off those TV deals. That bodes well for UCF when it comes to the expansion of the leagues, because the SEC network now and its affiliation with ESPN, and you see the Big Ten network being carried on cable systems. You wonder when the ACC will decide it wants its TV network and will move full forward with that, and that gives UCF an opportunity because of the TV market and the eyeballs.
Well, where is the AAC TV channel?
Oh, that's not digital. The TV dollars off that. We get the exposure on those noon games on ESPN 3. We get that exposure, but that TV deal is horrible.
No, I know, but why don't they start their own network?
There's no interest in that. Who's going to watch that?
Well, we would.
That's not enough.
Our teams and our
that's not enough.
Our fans of the teams in the conference.
Our schools in the AC.
Do you ever watch the SEC network?
I don't know.
Do you ever watch the Big Ten network?
No.
Do you ever watch the Pac-12 network?
No. If it doesn't involve UCF, I don't watch it.
Well, me either. So where do they have all these? I mean, who watches that stuff?
But those schools tend to have national profiles, though. Alabama is a nationally recognized program, so when they're on an SEC network game, people, casual fans, college football fans.
I've watched the SEC network one time.
We played Missouri.
And it was on the SEC network.
Was that the game against Missouri last
Yes.
year? Yeah.
It seemed like it was like ESPN or whatever, and it was, basically. Whatever. You know, if you can't beat them, join them, and we have to join them somehow to beat them.
But that gap is increasing.
Huge. It's huge.
And not only is that gap increasing between those Power 5 conferences and the rest, there's shaking out going on amongst those 5 and separation occurring amongst those 5. Those 5 are not created equal.
No, absolutely
I mean, the SEC's right up there and the Big Ten right up there, big kings of the hill, which back to the previous conversation about the push for the Big 12. When do they start to reload in terms of a TV contract or something like that they need those schools?
I come from a Big 12 school. I would love to see. I think it would be a perfect pairing. I would love to see.
You think that's the best conference for, if you could forget the SEC? Well, that's the best conference, though?
I don't know
Iowa
if it's the
State
best.
coming to town? There's a lot of interest in that.
No,
Iowa
but the
State?
Texas, the Oklahoma,
I know.
the Oklahoma State, the
It's
Baylor.
not travel friendly.
It's definitely not travel friendly.
That's
it's
what
not
West
travel
Virginia's
friendly.
facing.
It's not travel friendly for them either, but it's a little bit more if they would have more over here. West Virginia, Florida,
It's funny with all these
They need to add
conversations,
to.
and of course we talk about us, right? South Florida doesn't really get mentioned. And you see Memphis, you see Cincinnati's name, you see UConn's name, you see our name, BYU.
Yeah, I think it would be Cincinnati and UCF. That would
That's your prediction?
I think. I just think that those two would make the most sense. They both put quality programs on the field in more things than football. Some.
And UCF plays Cincinnati this year.
Yeah.
In
So
football,
we'll see. And that is like one of the games that I'm looking forward to. And I think a lot of people, just because we haven't played them, we didn't get to play them last year and all that stuff. So I think that's going to be a big game.
Halloween.
That'll be fun. That's in Cincinnati.
Yeah, and they're unveiling their renovated stadium. So
for that game?
No, I don't know if it's for that. I think it's for the upcoming season.
Oh, okay.
They've made renovations, so that'll be a big deal for them.
Yeah. There's been a lot of stadium renovations this year. I can't remember who all else, but I saw Kentucky is redoing theirs.
They
big.
Put a lot of money into theirs.
Yeah, and that program has, stepped up in the last couple of years as well. So what about some UCF news and notes since we've been gone for a while here?
There's one that's not on that list of news and notes, but the success of Orlando City and its supporters groups. Did you see that the UCF men's soccer
is going to have a supporters group? I guess.
And they're doing a name the supporters group, and they have 3 left that are on that list: the Knights Watch, the Cavalry, and the Kingsmen.
Yeah, I don't know about any of those that I particularly like.
But if you had to vote for one.
If you had to vote for one, I guess maybe the Cavalry.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Knights Watch.
Is that really? That's the 3 choices?
Those are the 3 they released out on Facebook.
Wow.
I'm going to go with the Knights
doesn't
Watch.
really go with the Knights thing, but I mean
the Kingsmen's kind of different.
The Kingsmen would be pretty cool. There was a band named the Kingsmen. Look it up. All right, here's some Knightline.
I did look it up. Louis.
Yeah. Louis. Yeah. I'm not going to say
that's the Kingsmen.
Yeah.
That could be their that
could be the theme song of the group. Anyway, news and notes. Former UCF women's soccer player Lena Peterman scored twice in Germany's 4-0 World Cup win over Thailand. That's pretty cool.
That is cool. Speaking of UCF women's soccer, they announced their 2015 schedule. Most notable on that schedule, the Knights will welcome Florida. In other sports, they leave Gainesville. August 21 season opener. First time in 5 years the Gators have visited UCF for a regular season matchup.
Former UCF golfer Stephanie Conley, who played on the Knights teams from 2007 through 2009, has earned a spot on the 2015 U.S. Women's Open after finishing second in the sectional qualifying in the Open Championship. That will be held July 6th through 12th at the Lancaster Country Club in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Swanky place, don't you think, there in Lancaster, PA? 4 members of the UCF track and field team named U.S. Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association honorable mentions. They include sophomore Janae Bellamy, as well Kirsten Nudeman. Oh, I butchered that one. That's
Easy
why
for
you
you
gave
to
that.
say.
That's why you gave me that one, because there's no chance I said that one right. Juniors Crystal Peterson and Brianna Vaughn. So congratulations to them.
Yeah, senior right-handed pitcher Zach Rogers also began his journey in the professional ranks on June 15th when he signed a free agent contract with the Toronto Blue Jays. That's pretty cool. He'll be with the Dunedin Blue Jays of the
Dunedin.
Dunedin.
You've never heard of Dunedin?
Nope.
It's over by Clearwater.
Really?
Dunedin.
I'm done eating. Are you done eating? Because I'm done eating. Anyway, the Dunedin Blue Jays of the Gulf Coast League. Senior shortstop Dylan Moore.
He was drafted.
Yep.
That was our most notable.
7th round by Texas. First baseman James Vasquez. 25th by Cincinnati. And redshirt junior Michael Tripp.
Mitchell.
That's fine. 36th round
There's a lot of rounds in that draft.
by Cincinnati were all selected in this
There
year's.
are 30 teams. He got drafted in the
36
36th round.
That's crazy.
And we may not be seeing him on
Mitchell,
the big club soon.
Michael, sorry.
Mitchell.
It looked like Michael.
4 UCF golfers traveled to Scotland to, that's horrible too.
That
That
was
isn't
bad.
close. To represent their home countries in the British Amateur, graduating seniors Linus Vaisanen from Finland. I got the hard ones this time. Rising juniors Ryan Stovash from the USA and Federico Zucchetti from Italy, as well as recent
was good.
signee Thomas Lebere from France, also competed in the event.
I would have said zucchini right there. So
You might have called him Michael, too.
That was perfect. Michael Zucchini.
Dunedin.
Okay. Oh, boy. UCF volleyball alum. God, I can't say this. Kay Elise Green.
There you go.
Kay Elise Green.
I would say so.
Has been nominated for the 2015 NCAA Woman of the Year Award. Wow. That's a big deal. The former middle blocker is one of 10 AAC candidates in consideration for the honor. Woman of the Year. Wow, that's cool.
That is cool.
That's one of those
Just
things
to be
that-
nominated is
to be
impressive.
a woman or man of the year in anything is pretty cool.
I would
So-
nominate you for Knightline Podcast.
Man of the year?
Man of the year.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I will accept your nomination, and since I'm the only one in the race,
Wow.
I
No
guess-
need to nominate me.
yeah,
That's fine.
Well, no,
Just accept the
Of course,
award.
I'm going to
Oh,
accept
okay.
it. I was nominated. Of course, it should
But
be
you,
me.
You could have nominated me.
Anyway, this
little self-congratulatory.
has been episode number 42. We will be back soon.
Sometime.
Yeah.
Sometime this summer.
Yeah, we'll be back soon. It's all going to kick in here very shortly. We got fall practice coming up, and then it's on. See you later.
UCF charge onto the field. With our spirits, we'll never yield. Black and gold charge right through the line. Victory is our cry. B-S-E-T-O-R-Y.